Hello, everyone. This is Jonathan Little
Amy Broder.
And we are here in Atlantic City. We just got here not too long ago. We went to dinner at Izakaya with my best man from our wedding, Shannon Shore. And then he forgot his phone charger, so I had to give him mine. But how was the trip here in the car?
It was very long.
It was very long. We came from New York City. Normally it's a 2.5-hour drive, but the traffic was horrible due to a lot of accidents. Luckily, we were not in the accidents, but ended up being 4 hours. And I've decided that if that's the most unlucky thing that happens to us on the trip, I'm going to get rich.
We're going to be rich.
So anyway, that was a good time. What are your plans while we're out here in Atlantic City?
I'm going to watch you play. I'm going to read a book.
What book are you going to read?
The Freakonomics, guys.
There's a new Freakonomics book, which is really just a compilation of their blog called When to Rob a Bank, or something like that. I actually already read the book, but Amy forgot her iPad at home because she did not use her packing list.
The one time.
The one time she forgot her iPad and her comb. So her hair is going to be a mess
If
tomorrow.
anyone is in AC and has a comb, I'm interested.
So, what else are you going to do?
Gonna walk on the boardwalk.
Are you?
Yeah.
I hear it's dangerous.
I like getting ice cream.
Oh, okay, they have ice cream there. Do you like the fudge?
I do.
Do they have taffy still?
Yeah, but I don't like taffy.
Don't like taffy.
Gets
Fudge?
stuck in my teeth.
Okay. What else are you doing?
Shopping.
Where are you going to go shopping?
Outlets. J. Crew outlet.
Amy likes shopping at J. Crew. J. Crew made this beautiful t-shirt I have on. And
Beautiful.
it's beautiful. It's a standard t-shirt. But they have outlets in Atlantic City, and that's a nice spot to go shopping. So tomorrow I'm playing a $1,500 buy-in turbo event at 1 p.m. We're going to wake up, go to breakfast with one of my best students, and then we are going...
It's not me.
It's not Amy. She's going to come as well. But I'm going to go play the tournament. Amy's going to go shopping, or maybe to the spa.
That would be nice.
Spa days are good. And then the next day, I'm going to play the main event, and on that day, Amy will unfortunately go home.
To work.
She has to go to work. I'll be at work too, hopefully winning all the money at poker. So that's the plan. We're going to have a good time. We'll do our best, and she'll try to not spend all the money. I'll try to win all of the money, and there'll be a nice profit.
GLGL.
GLGL. Good luck. Good game. Have a good time. Here we are with Amy. She's going to the Sex of the City slot machine. She is so excited. Look at that excited face. Doesn't want us to be filming. Okay, Amy, get in there. Say get in there and hug it. Get in there.
They're there.
Get in there and hug it. Act like you own the place.
Got to try to get a few more late registers to join the party. I want to hit 100, so we can try to get them to put a 150 on it.
Here we are, playing the 1500 Turbo.
We
Tripped up a little bit.
Breaks after, there's already 85.
Between 7 and 8, but you guys can start till 1. So would you guys like to see like a dinner break later than 7:30?
We are on the stone bubble of the... Can I zoom in? I can. $1,500 tournament. I have a decent amount of chips.
Yeah, he came in like 5th place.
I believe that's about 120K averages. Must be about 100. But here we are.
That was my boy Sam.
We're playing it out.
That was Sam.
And then he went deep.
We're all hand for hand, about to go.
Ace deuce. How much? 24,000 or so.
Just like that.
25,000.
We are in the money.
25.
I played no hands on the bubble because I had a big stack on my left, and he wasn't going to let me get away with it. But that's good. Down to 18. Our table's breaking. Uncle Shannon Shore still in over there in the red behind the 4-man. We'll do our best.
This is the final table with Jonathan Little. There he is.
So here I am. I did not win the tournament. I took 7th. I actually had a tough hand to bust. I had 300,000 chips. We were playing 6,000, 12,000. It's a pretty good amount. A guy, Richard Kirsch, who is a good, tight, aggressive guy, he made it 3 big blinds, which is fairly large but standard for him. And I had ace-queen suited. He made it 3 big blinds from the low jack seat. I was in the high jack with ace-queen suited. What do you do there?
I shove.
She shoves. I actually thought about shoving. I think shoving would be perfectly fine, but I figured I don't think he's ever calling me with worse, besides maybe pocket jacks and tens. I think he's never folding better. So I thought it was a spot where I had pretty big reverse implied odds. So I called. I really could see folding being okay, but I called. But another guy, Ray, decided to call the button, which I thought must be strong because Ray's a kind of crazy player, but he knows I'm kind of tight aggressive. He knows Richard's really tight aggressive. So flop comes 9, 7, 7. 1 spade. I have ace queen of spades. Not a very good flop. Richard checks, which makes me think he has ace king a lot or ace queen. So I decided to bet 45K into the 100K pot. Cheap bluff. A lot of good turn cards for me, right? Which card do you want to see on the turn? You don't know? Any card's good. So I bet 45K with the overcards and the backdoor flush draw. Ray called. And at that point, I thought he had either mostly over pairs, really, because I don't think he's calling with too many sevens, although maybe he could have 8-7 and or maybe 7-6 suited hands, or some sort of a pair, but probably over pairs. I mean, really mostly tens and jacks. I thought he'd be good enough to call a tens and jacks pre-flop. So turns of 5 of spades, which is great, and I have 230K left, and the pot is 200K. So what do you do? She shoves. Yeah, I wish I would have shoved looking back. So I decided to check. And the reason I decided to check, because I did not think Ray was ever going to fold an overpair. And I thought that was mostly what he had, or a 7. So I checked, and he checked behind. At this point, I'm pretty convinced he has an overpair, or maybe a 9 at 9-7-7. So river is an 8 of spades. So I have a flush. Pretty good, right? Yeah, I was thinking that too. But actually, I wasn't loving it because a 6 makes a straight, although I never have a 6. And Ray knows I don't have a 6. And I thought he would view a shove as either very bluffy or very nut heavy, one of the two. You know, very polarized. So I decided to shove just a touch more than pot. And all I want to see is not him instantly call, because if he instantly calls, means he has a full house. But I shoved, and he instantly called, and he had pocket 8s. So unfortunately, he rivered the full house when I rivered the flush. So I got 7th place, $6,000. Not too bad. What did you think of the performance?
It ended with ice cream.
It ended with ice cream, yeah. They gave us a $10 dinner comp, so we spent that at Ben & Jerry's this evening. Probably a little bit of tilt food. Actually, I wasn't tilted. I'm fine with my play. I think I actually played really well.
Tilted.
Amy wasn't tilted. She was
just a bad eater.
she loves sugar. Did you go shopping today?
I did.
What's the favorite thing you got?
That's a tough question. I got a blazer for work. My favorite things I got were work clothes. I'm so boring.
She's so boring. That's why I love her. So yeah, that's that. Amy's going home tomorrow, unfortunately. Tomorrow is the main event for me. It's a $3,500 re-entry, and as far as I know, you can re-enter for a long time. So you can go off 7 or 8 times if you feel like it. Hopefully that's not the case. How many times do you think I should go off for max? 2? Well, no, it could be more than that. Don't tell her that. So that's that. Tomorrow's the main event. So Amy just left. We're about to start the $3,500 buy-in main event. I've actually done particularly poorly in Borgata tournaments, which is kind of interesting because they are thought to be fairly soft. I think I've had only one deep run. And to be fair, I did lose a big flip near the end of that. The guy who beat me in the flip, we were, I think, 27-handed or so, ended up winning, so maybe I would have won. But anyway, I think I've probably been a little bit too out of line at Borgata tournaments, meaning I'm really trying to exploit the weak players, and in my mind, almost everyone here is a weak player. I think it's just because of their mannerisms and their demeanors that they make it so obvious that they are egotistical or timid or whatever. It just becomes clear because people talk a lot in the northeast corner of America for some reason. So it becomes obvious what I need to be doing against them, and if it's obvious what I need to be doing, I'm not afraid to get out of line and do it. But I think I need to chill out a little bit with 3-betting weaker hands like 9-5 suited and calling raises with hands like 9-5 suited to try to flop the nuts when deep stacked against some of the weaker players. I think that's probably cost me a little bit, just getting in too many spots that are normally high implied odds when you have 100 big blinds, but become sort of reverse implied odds when you have 300 big blinds, because if you make the 9 high flush, 300 big blinds deep, you're not exactly happy. So you're not happy when all the money goes in. So that's my plan. I'm gonna probably play a little bit more tight aggressive than I standardly do in these games, but it is a re-entry tournament, so hopefully I don't go off too many times.
WPT Championship events. We also want to thank you, the player, for your continued support of the WPT. Without you, there would be no World Poker Tour. Okay, players, we want to wish all of you the best of luck in your quest to make it to the televised final table. Dealers, let's shuffle up and deal.
Here I am on my second break of the day, 4 hours, actually 5 hours into the day. They do 75-minute levels here at Borgata. So far the day is going pretty well. I haven't really done a whole lot beyond making pretty good hands twice. I made a flush. I had 7-6 of diamonds on King 4, 2 of diamonds. King 9, 2 of diamonds. My opponent had King 9 and he paid me off the whole way. So that was good. And then another hand, I made 3 queens against Ace King on King, Jack, 4, Queen, and won a little bit on that too. Beyond that, I haven't really done too much. I've tried to be somewhat tight aggressive, as I just said that I would. I do have 2 kids on my direct right who are fairly loose aggressive, and I have been 3-betting them a pretty good amount. One of them has been passive versus my aggression, and the other one has been fairly aggressive versus my aggression. So I'm going to play accordingly in the future versus them. One of them got lucky to stack a guy early in the day, so he has a lot of chips on my right, so I'm looking forward to that. I currently have 50,000 from a actually I have 55,000 from a 30,000 chip start, so that's pretty good, seeing how we're going to only 150, 300, so I have a lot of big blinds in position against an aggressive guy, so hopefully I can do something with that. So here we are at the end of the day. Every day at the end of the day, they have to count all of your chips to make sure you are not going to sneak any in at the start of the second day. Then at the start of the second day, they will count all of your chips to make sure you have the proper number of
5,000
chips. So I will have 12 blue chips, which are the 5,000s, and I will have 13 of the oranges
number
and
of chips,
so
guys.
forth.
500. 4, 8, 12, 16, 17.
And all this is so I don't cheat tomorrow.
17.
Don't bag
10, 15, 17. All right.
I ended with 83-2. All in all, a great day.
This is the line of everyone wanting to buy in with 25 big blinds to start the day. You do not want to be in this line.
Here I am on my table. Clearly, no one else wants to play today. I'm the only one here. Here's a look around the room. There's a lot of people still remaining. I believe 500 or so. So it should be a pretty great tournament. The first 2 levels of day 2 were crazy. I actually had 2 spots that were very similar. On one hand, I had pocket 8s. It came King, King, 8, so I had a full house. I bet, someone called. I bet the turn, he called. Turns the jack. On the river, I bet huge, and he went all in for a little bit more. And when he went all in for a little bit more, I was pretty unhappy, but I made the call because I thought my opponent would overvalue a hand. So anyway, he had King 5, so he decided to get stacked. Then, about an hour later, I had King Jack. I raised. It came King, King 6. 2 people called. It came, I bet the flop. One tight, aggressive guy called, and when he called, I thought his range was mostly pairs and a king, as it should be. Turn was a 5, so I checked and he checked behind, which, made me think he probably had a pair. River was a What was the river? River was an ace. So a lot of his ace highs get there if he happened to have ace queen or something like that. So I bet about half pot, and he raised, and I decided to pay him off. I bet 5,800, he made it 14K. And I called. I wasn't happy, but I thought my hand was fairly underrepresented. But if you think about it, I actually lose to his entire value range, which should be only kings, but he was a tight aggressive kid, so he's only calling with ace king, king queen, queen jack, king jack, and maybe I beat king 10. But I wasn't even sure he would raise the river with king 10. And I beat all of his bluffs, of course, but there's no reason to re-raise or anything like that. So I crying called, and he had pocket sixes, so I had two of the exact same situation, but flipped. And on one, I sacked my opponent, and on the other, I lost 25K, which was not a lot out of my 120K stack. So, all in all, got to be happy with that result. I have about average, I think about 1/3 of the field remains, and I have about 3 starting stacks, so that sounds about right. But it's a very active level. Whenever you have a very active level, you have to remain calm and realize whenever you go back, just relax. You're not trying to play big pots or anything like that. You're just trying to take it easy and let the chips come to you. So it's very easy whenever you play a lot of big pots to get, I guess, antsy or excited, and just have to breathe and remain calm. The last few levels of the day were crazy for me. I won a big all-in versus this guy with pocket kings versus his ace 10. Nick Schulman on the left, right at the end of the day, beat me with his pocket jacks versus my ace queen. So it was a really swingy day, but I ended with 169,000, which is good for average. So going into day 3, there are 120 people left in the tournament, and 100 get paid. And I have roughly 2/3 average. I believe average is 200K, I have 165K. So that puts average at right around 40 big blinds. Average in the money will be 300K. So we're half of that currently. But that's A-okay. I was looking at the chip counts, and there are a lot of people with 50K or so. So unfortunately, whenever you have a stack like mine, your main goal should be just to get in the money and then go from there. Especially in tournaments where you get in the money, then there are no payout jumps forever. So really it's sort of like a minus 3,500 or a plus 3,500. I assume that's the payout. Something like that, I don't know, give or take a little bit. And that's a pretty big swing. So you want to be getting that payout jump. From there you jump very small. So say you're getting 7K in the money, then you get like 8K, then 9K, so it really doesn't matter. So the goal is to get in the money. I'm gonna try to play relatively snug, but at the same time, if I get something like ace king or pocket jacks, I'm just getting it in, I'm not worrying about it. So I'm out here at Borgata Spa. They have a little outdoor area. I'm gonna relax out here for the next hour or so. Yeah, about an hour and 20 minutes before it's time to go play the poker tournament. So here we are in a unique situation. This guy here has 5,000 chips on the bubble. The stone bubble, he has 5 antes. So, clearly the goal is to not go broke. Interestingly enough, other people at the other tables did not get that memo, and they have been going all in. So, I'm sitting here with about 280,000, waiting for the bubble to bust. And people are more than happy to get it in, so that is fantastic. Of course, they likely do not know that this guy has 1,000 chips, but that is why it is important to get up, walk around, and see what the other stacks look like, so you do not make humongous errors. It looks like we are in the money. They're going to take account of the players, but the short stack, this guy, he made it in 1 ante. He is happy. Here I am at the end of day 3. Here is Joe Kuther. I decided to bluff him near the end of the day. That did not work out too well for me. This guy in the blue I actually made 4 of a kind against early in the day, and he had the ace-high flush and decided to put his whole stack in. So that worked out pretty well for me. I got a double up from him and then bluffed it off to Joe. I have 850,000 going to day 4, which is going to be right around 2/3 average. There are 25 people left, and now it's time to run hot. Hello. I am about to go down to play day 4 of the tournament, and I thought I would share with you my thoughts going into the day. Yesterday, I really had not a whole lot happen until early in the day when I made 4 of a kind, and a guy on my left decided to make a flush on the river and go all in with it, which I think was a big error. On the river, actually what happened is I raised pre-flop, he called. It came Jack 7-6 or Jack 6-5. one club. He had ace six of clubs. I bet the flop he called. Turn was the jack of clubs, so I had quads. I bet the turn he called. River was another club. I bet and he jammed. I bet 57K. He made it 157. I went all in for 370, and he snap called. I think that was a pretty bad call. I don't hate his river raise, but I definitely hate his river call of my shove. There was a straight flush out there actually, and when I jammed, he did like this, like I call. I'm like, oh, he must have a boat, thank goodness. But if he just called instantly like he did, I would have assumed I was out, which is not really what you're looking for when you have quads. But I like to go for the thin value, and luckily it worked out. Seeing how he called with every flush, he's certainly calling with every full house. Anyway, from there, I really didn't play very many big pots until we got down to 36 players. I was re-raising a lot at this table pre-flop because I had a few really aggressive kids on my right, and they were folding to my aggression for the most part, or calling pre-flop and then check folding on the flop. So I had about 2 million chips. Joe Kuther raised under the gun. Another guy in second position called. I picked up kings on the button, pretty much exactly what you want. So it went 35K, 35K. I made it 105K. And then this guy who just got moved to the table, who had a beer in his hand, and he seemed to be a recreational player, cold called out of the small blind with 100,000 chip, or with a 700,000 chip stack. So I'm thinking, okay, he probably has ace king, ace queen, maybe ace jack, jacks, tens, nines, queens, maybe eights, something like that. Or maybe he's just crazy and he has 10-9, who knows. So Joe Kuther and the other guy folded. The flop came jack 10-8, which is not really what you want to see. Jack 10-8, two clubs. I had no club in my hand. The guy instantly bet out 300,000 into the 300,000 chip pot, leaving himself 300,000 behind. And I was sick at this point. But after thinking about it, I think he's going to have all the good flush draws, ace, king, ace, queen. Obviously, king, queen, maybe, if he has that. Also, I think he could do it with sets, which is obviously not the way you want to play sets, but I thought he could do that. I thought he could have an overvalued ace, jack, or pocket queens. Pocket queens way more likely than ace, jack. Or maybe even something like pocket nines for an open and a straight draw. So I put it in, and he did show pocket jacks. So he just cold calls the 3-bet, snap pots it on the flop, and gets a guy to pay him off. So that was unfortunate. That put me down to 1.2 million. Then I chipped up a little bit more, and then I tried to bluff Joe Kuther in a pot. I'm not going to go into that. And that put me down to about 1 million. And from there, I sort of hung around for the rest of the day. I think my opponents, at least some of them, probably perceive me to be fairly crazy. I get this image where quite often at the table, some players will think I'm a lunatic and some will think I am tight aggressive. And you really have to be very aware of who thinks you're a lunatic and who thinks you're tight aggressive. For example, I tried bluffing Joe Kuther the last 2 times I played with him, and he probably thinks I'm a lunatic. He was at the final table of the $1,500 turbo tournament I took 7th in here at Borgata just a few days ago. And there are other players who have just shown the nuts every time. There's this, he's not a French guy, but we've been calling him a French guy because his name is Jean-Pierre or something like that. And I've just shown him the nuts every single time. So even though he's aware that I'm mostly playing good hands, he thinks I play mostly good hands. He does not think I'm running sick bluffs on it. So actually there was a hand, this is a secret, don't tell anyone this one, where I limped small blind, ace-jack offsuit, hearts, diamonds. He checked the big blind. I had been limping a few times and he'd been raising a lot. This time he checked. Flop came queen 4-3, 2 spades. I checked. He bet 16K, so the big blind was 2,000, 4,000. I'm sorry, 4,000, 8,000. So I limped for 8K, he called. Or I limped for 8K, he checked. Queen 4-3, I check called 16K. Turn was a 7 of spades. I checked and he bet 40K, and I made it 92K with nothing. I don't do that too often. I don't recommend it, but I knew that he really liked to fire out when checked to. So that seemed like a pretty ideal spot to go for it. And he's snap folded, so that was good. It sounds like I'm running a lot of insane bluffs, but really I don't think I am. I have had good cards for the most part. Like yesterday when I squeezed twice. I had aces once and kings once, so it's not like I'm going crazy there. There was a kid on my right who had 3-bet pretty relentlessly, and he just kept folding to my aggression. I had a lot of ace-x and king-x versus him, so that was good. But, like, for example, that guy, even though he never saw my hands, he probably thinks I'm a lunatic just because he saw me try to bluff Joe Kuther, and he saw me 3-betting him every hand. He probably thinks I'm way crazier than someone who is not involved in those pots. And going into the final 27, actually I think we're down to 25, it's important to recognize who thinks that. And if you... Like I have a wonderful image to try to bluff some people, and I have horrible image to try to bluff other people, and I have to be very aware of that. In Atlantic City, there are a lot of groups of players that go around, so it's a little bit difficult to know who hangs out with who. Like, whenever you go to the European Poker Tour tournament, you kind of know that the old French guys don't hang out with the young Americans, or whatever, in any demographic. Like, the Swedish kids don't hang out with the German kids. Although, of course, they mix some, but you can just get that vibe. Whereas in Atlantic City, a lot of the people just know each other and they talk to each other. So, if someone goes into this the final 25 knowing I can run 3-bet pre-flop and then bet with nothing, then that's not good for me because they'll snap me off. And I have to be a little bit conscious of that and pay attention to who people are talking to on breaks and whatnot, because it is really important to see who other people are conversing with and talking poker with. I actually wrote about this in Secrets of Professional Tournament Poker Volume 2. You can get that under the books tab at jonathanlittlepoker.com. It's important to see who people are conversing with because they will share reads. You can count on that. I mean, I've shared reads with my friends, and it's vital. So I'm going to go in with about 32 big blinds, I believe. I have no real pressure to do anything insane. I'm going to sit there, try to be patient, I'm just really not going to try to spaz out is what it amounts to. I'm going to try to control myself, try to be a good boy, and hopefully we can run hot. I say that every day, I feel like. Every day I would like to run hot. That's all you really need. Just run hot and you'll win the poker tournament. Well, I just busted the tournament on I believe it was the third hand of the day. Not exactly how you want to go out, especially after the World Poker Tour did a piece on me for the first, or 30 minutes before the tournament. They did a nice interview of me, and they probably won't be able to use that now, seeing how I busted on the third hand. First hand of the day, I folded. Second hand of the day, I was in the big blind. The same guy who had pocket jacks on the Jack 10 8 board that I just discussed, he raised under the gun to 55K at 12K, 24K. I defended the big blind with Jack of clubs, 9 of spades. Flop comes King of clubs, 9 of clubs, 4 of clubs. So I have a pair and a flush draw. Pretty good hand. I checked. He bet 125K into the 125K pot. And I had flashbacks to this webinar that I did with Phil Helmuth where he said, John, you've been playing poker for a long time. You should be trusting your reads exclusively. And this guy looked just like he looked the other day when he had the sets. So I folded. I'm not trying to fold pairs and flush draws too often when I have 30 big blinds, but I folded. And he showed pocket kings for top set. So that was good. Very next hand, it folds around to this guy, Maurice, who is known to be relatively loose, aggressive, splashy. He makes it 75K on the button. And I have king, queen of spades in the small blind with 780K. So shoving is a tiny bit big, but at the same time, I don't think I can really 3-bet and call it off. I think I'd much rather just jam to make him fold stuff like pocket 4s and ace 9 and whatnot. So I shoved. I think shoving's really the only play. I could have called, given the weak guy was in the big blind, but the weak guy in the big blind was just tight. He wasn't necessarily like overly splashy or anything like that. And those aren't really the guys you want to keep in the pot. I don't think that's going to do me much good. So I jammed, and he thought for around 2 minutes, and then called with the nuts, ace-queen. So thank you for the slow roll. I appreciate it. Actually, I think it's always funny when people slow roll you because I think it's sort of a sign of them projecting their weaknesses onto their opponents. And obviously, it doesn't bother me one bit because I'm a professional. But maybe it does bother some people. Anyway, I lost. I flopped a flush draw, and I was hoping to win, but I did not. So all in all, I'm fine with my play. I'm super happy with the first fold I made. I don't ever fold a pair plus a flush draw, like a reasonable flush draw and a reasonable pair, but I did. And the king-queen suited hand is just super standard. If that hand happened a million times, I do the same thing every time. So tough way to bust. I busted in 25th place for $14,000 or so, which is honestly not that good of a score, given first place is 780K or whatever it was. But it's better than nothing. So that's going to be it for the Borgata trip. Thank you all for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Let me know what you think of these blogs. If you think they are good, let me know. If you think they're wasting my time, let me know. They take quite a long time to make, and I definitely would appreciate your feedback. Because I do know that a lot of people like to see how a poker tournament works. It's never fun busting, but that is how it goes almost every time. You have to recognize that when you go into a tournament that you are probably going to bust and you're probably not going to enjoy the experience. And if you recognize that ahead of time, it's not that big of a deal when it happens.